So let me kick this off with the agenda. So I'm going to do a 10-minute intro. Then I'm going to talk about the construction engineering use cases. And then Ashish and Jose is actually going to show you some, with the live camera, they're going to show some experiences, what that is, and then we'll wrap up. All right, so welcome everyone. As you know, we're Oracle as a, known as a technology company in applications. When it comes to applications, those are the ERPs and HCMs, and our customers run their back office systems and other applications. But we also have industry solutions. Those industry solutions, recently named as vertical clouds because they're, on the cloud, and we have, all different solutions for different verticals. So there is one for construction engineering, utilities, communication, retail, food and beverage, hospitality, life sciences, and there's, financial services. There's several others, and they provide very in-depth applications that actually serves those industries. This journey for Oracle started, I think, almost 12 years ago with my understanding with the acquisition of Primavera, which is a scheduling product, and then it evolved into other industries. So let's talk about the Innovation Lab, why we built it, and I'll talk about where we are right now. So phase one, it was a discussion 2.5 years ago about how we innovate, right? So we have, and I was in the construction engineering business unit, and we were working with partners and customers, integrations, and looking at the products. So if you think twofold, there is internal innovation, right? We add new products, new AI tools, other things to serve that market. That's one angle. But then we are building an ecosystem because there are point solutions that really complement, our customers' needs, and we're looking at how to really, enable those workflows. So the conversation was, how can we do that? And we didn't want to actually just, have an office space. So we built a construction site in Chicago. That's the image you're seeing here. So that was opened in August 2018, and we were operational in that location for 15 months. Then at the same location, this is in Deerfield in Illinois, we actually got funding to build a building, and that's the image you're seeing, and that's the existing building that I'm in right now. So the first 15 months brought us over 900 visitors. And initially we thought, we'll build this and, we'll serve the North American market. They actually came from all around the world. They came from Australia, New Zealand, China, Middle East, Europe, and will come and stay 2-3 days with us. Because the key of the lab, what the lab did was we test and explore technologies, one step. The other one is provided immersive experiences. Construction engineering industry, like many others, are really hands-on, right? Everything is turning into digital, but people actually want to try these things, not just like, oh, I just see on the screen and I'm going to move mouse and this thing happen. They actually want to do it, physically do it. So that's the whole premise of it. And when it comes to test and explore, let me give you an example. So when you have a startup or a partner that says, hey, I have this amazing sensor, it actually can link to your scheduling product. It can tell you when the concrete is poured or the quality of it and the timing of it. You said, okay, come and show it to me. Now we have a construction site. So you can actually really try it, right, with them and actually see if this thing works. If that works, then you can have a real discussion about how to integrate and how to bring that to the market. So this is the site in a larger image, and this was operational for 15 months. And then at the same location, we actually built a physical building. So that's side office, the trailer that you saw on the first image is still there. You'll see that in the second image on the bottom right. So we just painted it so it looks nicer from outside. It's the same location. We just built a very large facility in the same location, and that's where I'm right now. Now let's talk about who are the tenants. So due to, I'll say, its success and implementation, our tenants grew. So it's not just construction engineering. We actually have Oracle Utilities and Communications as tenants of the lab in Chicago. What I really want to talk to you guys about, how we built this building, the image that, this is, by the way, real. It's not, a photo that you see in virtual environments. I can touch it. I can show it to you later. This facility is built with three of Oracle's core products serving construction engineering. ACEs is project management, Primavera is for scheduling, Texture is for payments, plus 15 partner products. We actually, we were in the first phase of the site. We implemented these technologies, we tested, validated them. We actually used the same technologies to build them. So the key message here is we didn't just work with these partners and look at integrations and use cases and customers. We actually use it to build our own facility. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to actually go through some of these use cases. Like, how is it relevant to the industry? Why we're doing all this, right? Let's start with the visual command center. So this is a good example. That person on the left is me. You can see from my bald head, right? So I am in a virtual reality environment. So that's a good example of internal innovation. When we opened the site in August 2018, we start showing our product, ACEs' ability to put models in and interact with them. And customers start saying, well, it will be great to be in the VR and actually just do it. So we collected their feedback and then actually built something that enables you to you buy a Oculus Rift headset, plug into your machine, and you're in the VR. So you can actually walk inside the building. You don't need a gaming engine. You don't need anything else. This enables us to interact within the model itself. Then we actually turned that into a GA product. In our terms, just generally available. So it's a product that customers actually can use. So that's a good example of how lab enabled our internal innovation. So for the building itself, we requested to get an as-built model end of the project from the contractor. And there's I'll say in the world of buildings and infrastructure and even in healthcare and others, there's a whole thing about digital twins, right? Again, it's not a new concept. It's been out there for 20-something years. Manufacturing has it. That's how the airplanes are built, right? Or the wind turbines are modeled and understood how they work. But what we decided to do for the construction is actually take the model, put all the metadata into it, and create us an as-built. Another example is scheduling. So for this site, what we have done is we use our Primavera scheduling product, but we also connected two of the methods. That's our own internal innovation. There's a whole process about schedule activities and then also tasks. So we actually connected two. What is actually happened during pandemic, because I want to highlight to all of you, is if you look at the first use case I showed you, it enables you to get in the model, interact with it, right? This is about having everything for scheduling in the virtual environment. Because normally, the way they run these meetings for scheduling is you get a bunch of trade contractors in a conference room inside a side office or a trailer. You sit down and you put some sticky notes on the wall, right? So that's how we agree on the tasks. This method of fully digitizing it enables you to do it on a virtual meeting. So you actually don't need to be inside the trailer. That's what we did. So what happened in year 2020, we built a site. And this site ended up being one of the rare locations which actually had technologies that some of them were nice to have, turned into a must-have. Why? Like the virtual one I showed you, visually seeing things, interacting it, become a nice, a must-have. Interacting with the schedule and having scheduling meetings with your trades, not being in the same room, turn into, a must-have. The other one is material tracking. So we were working for almost 2 years on how we could track materials with sensors, RFID readers, how that will work. So we implemented that on the site. And then last year in 2020, that helped us because then you could have a truck coming into a site with a bunch of materials and the gate readers recognize them. So what batch it's in, what pieces are. So then you can actually update the schedule. So you don't have to actually go through a whole paper manifesto and actually understand what's in there. It actually enables you to do that. Another use case I want to share, and G loves this one because it includes a robot, is how we work with our partner, Faro. So Faro is our partner and they provide laser scanning solutions for the industry. By the way, that's not just for construction. It's for factories, it's for manufacturing, it's anything that is an asset that you want to keep track of for changes, everything else, that you actually need. So we work with Faro in the beginning of the project of this construction site, the building, during the building being built, they actually came and did scanning, right? Like humans will come, they'll put the tripods, they scan the site, you have the data. And around, I'll say April, May timeline last year, now a year ago, Faro brought us Boston Dynamics Spot. They attached the laser scanner. That's the image you're seeing on the two images below, right? So you see the robot attached to the scanner. Those like that rectangle on attached at the top is that. And then they actually integrated with the robot. So what it does is you have a controller, you tell the robot to go to a location, and you train it once. So your human controls it, says go to this location, stops, and then it triggers a scanning function. It scans that area, goes to another location, scans another area, goes to another location. Now, if you ever watched the Boston Dynamics Spot on YouTube, which has like 30 to 40 million views, you'll see that they can really dance well. But beyond that, we also have proved that they can do more than just dancing, right? You can trigger an operation every single day. It can go around the site. It can go upstairs, go to a second level, and stop at the same location every time and scan that location. Why do we need this? For engineering and construction, it gives us accuracy of installation. It tells us what's installed, what's not installed. Like we were able to identify that handrails were 1 millimeter off. Now, if you think about this facility, if a handrail is installed 1 millimeter, it is not that much of a big deal, right? Because it is I'll say a lab facility in that sense of a handrail. But if you're installing it for an oil and gas facility, you're building pharma, you're doing all these things, at 1 millimeter could mean a lot. So, so we use this, and then what that did also, another angle to this, is it enabled our partner Faro to bring this product to the market. So they used this construction site those months, and August 2020, they were able to bring Faro integrated with Boston Dynamics to the market. The second part of this is that arrow, the data going into Oracle, right? So the next part of that was, okay, we have worked with them. It's automated robotic solution does that, but how do we create a common data environment? The data then went into Oracle's products, and then actually we visualize it with a third-party product, and we use this for the construction. So the general contractor on the site use this product, the subcontractors, everyone actually get used to and understand how this works. So we were able to test and validate how this workflow works during the construction. And it's just more than laser scanning. So if you see the reality capture on the left, photos, laser scans, LiDAR, drones, 360 videos, live cameras. We installed live cameras that push the data to the platform. I will say, I think I verified it today. One camera, one data source gave us 100,000 images in the construction. The other one gave us 43,000. So we have 143,000 images just captured through cameras on the site, right? And at a certain frequency, they're captured, and then that actually overlays the model, the schedule, and the reality capture in one place. So that enabled us to manage the site remotely. So what does this mean for our customers? So let's say you are a project executive and you live in downtown Chicago and this location is in Deerfield. You actually don't need to travel to the site. You can ask your project engineer, take a 360 camera, walk around the site for 3, 4 or 5 minutes, capture the video, put it into the platform, and then you'll be able to see exactly what actually has been implemented. So these kind of technologies are significantly impacting construction engineering, but they're also impacting utilities. That's impacting other industries that we interact with every single day.
This is really interesting, Burson, because from doing some work as a general contractor on even simple remodeling projects, but also reading about construction and modern building standards, right? This is 540 degrees out from the way construction's been done in the past, right? When people were building skyscrapers, they used to talk about tying huge cables around and straightening the building as the building still went up. And here you're doing reality capture in real time and measuring, as you mentioned, within a millimeter or so of how well the tradesmen and the craftsmen are doing their work. This is amazing. This is an entirely different way of doing things.
It's also extremely relevant to other industries, right? Like G and I talk many times about this. Like this example I was about to give is they capture photos, and then it goes into our product ACANX, and then they recognize objects. So this was a product that looked at the photos and recognized things like work in place and like number of crews on the site. And that's true image. We linked it to the camera. Camera sends an image all the time to that, and then actually would recognize things, right? Now, we didn't implement any, I'll say we didn't implement anything to recognize, identity. So we stayed away from that, right? No facial recognition on the site. The other thing, Jim, important is education. So we built a robust education system for the crews that showed up on the site. As part of the safety training, they learned and said, these are the technologies on the site. This is what it does, and this is what it doesn't do. Why? Because when you put these technologies on the site, I think, technology is here to solve the problems, but the important part is the human in the process. And until they understand what it does and it doesn't do, and we all have fears about it, right? Like, are you tracking me? Is this what's doing? Is this my privacy? So we were very careful about that. And we also educated them and say, look, here's what's going to do. It's going to recognize these things. And we're only going to use this for training and education, right? This is not a tool that we'll use it for other purposes. So that gave them comfort. And, this site was a union site in Chicago. And we actually had no pushback to put all these technologies in one place and actually use it. Another thing I want to mention, because, your group probably is going to have an interest on this, is part of how we enable innovation within Oracle and partners is we actually built this building. I hate to use the word smart, but we did in a way that we have all sensors. Look, from parking to electrical to water to all the stuff. And the goal was, can we actually put all this in one place? Like we have solar panels on the roof, we have Tesla batteries, we have mechanical systems. We actually build a data lake for the building. So that enables us to pull all the data in one location. And the idea there is, can we actually leverage that, right? Predictive maintenance, operations, like not just how you build these things, but how can you actually leverage that? Now, if you think about, Jim, the tenants we have, Oracle Utilities, like that's what they do for a living, right? About optimization of energy and how that's used. And later part of this presentation, you're going to hear from the experts about, what that business does. But this is built in a way that we will enable this. And I think one key word that I want to emphasize is enable. Digital and physical is merging, right? We talk about this all day long in conferences for 15, 20 years. What is hard is create environments where it is already there that can enable people to innovate. When I say enable people, it is either Oracle's internal teams, partners, and customers, right? So the key to building of this kind of facility is becoming an incubator of innovation, right? Enabling these things to happen. If you build the right infrastructure, then you can make that happen. Because in building infrastructure, A, is not cheap, B, takes a long time, right? So these things, are not that easily accessible for many of us to actually do that. This is an example of what that model looks like. It actually feeds the live energy data. So when you see that building power 2 to 7.4 kilobytes is actually live feed from all these sensors and everything else. Like this gives you an idea of what occupancy sensors show. Like it shows you who's and where, and it doesn't identify the person, but it counts, right? So it counts all the light fixtures have sensors built into it. By the way, that's becoming pretty common in the industry when you build buildings. So we use existing commercially available technologies to actually pull that together. So to conclude this, I'm going to play you guys a video. Everything I talked about, it's going to give you some video. Like early part, 30 seconds, is going to show you guys how those pieces are. And the last part is going to really show you how the building is.
Okay, I just got
Impressive.
one question on that video.
Yes.
What was going on with pushing the guy off the wall?
So that guy is behind me. His name is Pete. And Pete falls off the wall falls so many times because Pete has sensors on it. So that actually, captures it so that the worker fall simulation. What's interesting, Jim, is we like 2.5 years ago, we looked for a dummy, to do that. And we learned that it's very hard to find something actually can hold its weight. And then we were able to find a martial arts dummy that actually can hold its weight. So that's the purpose of it. And that's why it has a target on his face.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
Cool stuff. So what I'm curious about is we were actually at the Deerfield office twice in 2019 as part of the Chicago Oracle user group. We had 2 meetings there, one in May and one in August. And I remember seeing portions of, I don't think it was the building that just got built. When did that get finished, I guess is my question.
So this building finished in January this year, 2021.
Yeah,
So
I think whatever was
2020.
Okay. So I think whatever was there before that open area, it wasn't a building. It was just like an open construction. I remember seeing that and looking over there and going, what the heck is that? And I don't, we came there at nighttime after everybody was walking out. So I didn't have a chance to ask anybody, what is that back there? But now
you know. Yes.
Yeah.
Now you know. And now Ashish is going to take over. He's actually going to walk around and show some of the things they've been working on. We actually have a smart condo built into the lab as part of this. There is whole appliances, as I said, solar panels, Tesla batteries, all that stuff. So he's going to actually walk you guys through.
So this is Ashish Agarwal. I'm part of the utilities industries. And we are really excited to be part of this innovation lab here. So I'm on the first floor of the innovation lab. So let me quickly turn my camera. And you'll see Burchin, he was talking from there. And I'm in the dry lab area here, in the viewing area in the dry lab. And this is where, we're planning to kind of use this area as an outdoor space, because a lot of utilities assets are outside. So this is the area where we have done some work with drones. And then we are planning to kind of have like poles and stuff like that we can kind of work with. Just kind of quickly give you the tour. This is kind of the viewing area that you can view the space down here. And it's going to give you a little bit of the perspective.
You see Pete
that the customers
down there.
can see in the dry lab area. So what I'm going to do for my section is I'm going to give you a tour of a couple of exhibits that we have built here in the innovation lab. So I'm walking towards our first exhibit that we call the storytelling wall. So this is the giant touch screen that we use to tell stories to our customers. So our customers from a utility industry perspective are the utilities executives that are part of the utilities like electric, water, gas utilities, and also their customers, the people who actually consume energy, the consumers are like you and us. So this particular exhibit is to kind of talk about different personas from the utility industry's perspective, talk about the problems or challenges that personas have, and how do our solutions, Oracle Utility Solutions, address those challenges. So this wall is designed to be very interactive, and it's kind of inviting people to come up to it. Multiple people can stand side by side, and they can play with these personas, and I can kind of move them around. And then I can click on these personas to start the journey from that particular persona's perspective. And then we call this movements that matter. So now all of these are different movements that kind of matter for this particular persona. And as I tab through these movements, I can learn about the challenges that happen, and then also talk about how our solutions address those challenges. So to us, this is kind of one of the exhibits that we wanted to build in this space to really kind of have our customers who visit this lab, our visitors to this lab, interact with this and interactively kind of learn about how our solutions address some of those challenges. Now, this exhibit has been very, very successful, although it was originally designed to be played on this giant wall. But as our pre-sales and as our sales force saw this particular exhibit, they wanted to use them for the remote presentations also. So this becomes a really good way to talk about your products, talk about some of the challenges that the customers face and how our solutions can address them. This particular application, works well on this kind of giant screen, and also kind of scales down to like iPads or just like a shared over the web in a Zoom meeting. So just kind of a good interactive way for customers to learn about our applications. So now I'm walking into a second exhibit, which is the Smart Studio. As I walk into the Smart Studio, you will see a connected hub. Say hi to Jose here. We'll meet with him in just a minute. But I'm going to give you a tour of our Smart Studio. Now, this is the space that we created to have our visitors really kind of get down into the shoes of an end consumer and experience what a smart home or a smart condo is going to look like, and see how our technologies, along with some of the smart technologies from our partners, can really help consumers learn about energy in a new and interesting way. So here we have a fully furnished condo. We have electric range. This is Wi-Fi enabled, so we can control this remotely. Same thing with the hood, a dishwasher. This is a smart fridge with a giant tablet, and it can run various applications on it. So let me just kind of pull up one of the applications that we are working with. This is the Smart Things application, and here, all of these smart appliances that I talked about, it kind of talks about different states, and I can control them from here. This is kind of the utility closet area of the Smart Studio. This is the Tesla battery Bachchan was talking about. There is solar panels on top of the roof that are kind of fed down, and we have these 2 sub-meters that can capture amount of energy that's being generated, that is being consumed, energy that is going to the battery, and all of this kind of flows into the data lake that Bachchan talked about earlier. We have a smart meter, and then we specifically put the smart meter just to measure the consumption of the Smart Studio itself. And of course, a few more appliances that we have. In this space, and as Bachchan talked about earlier, is this is the space for us to co-innovate. So there's a lot of stuff that utilities have done, but here you will see some of the exhibits that some of our partners have worked, and they can demonstrate in this area. So this Copper Labs, they have given us these 3 different smart meters, so electric, water, and gas, and allows us to simulate various scenarios. So I can turn on like a simulator, a particular appliance being running, or somebody taking a shower. And because these are smart meters, we can see amount of energy, amount of resources, in this case, water being used for one of those activities, and we can see them in real time. Powerly has a bridge that talks to that smart meter earlier. Same thing with Copper. And then these smart meters will give us that real-time data feed for all of those appliances.
So Ashish just highlighted 2 partners, right? And this is our way to know how these things work, right? This is our way to know, does these technologies work? Does these partners' technologies, how they complement Oracle products? And then really test it with customers, right? So, if someone comes in and has a product that they are it's really innovative, it could be a sensor, it could be, anything that we actually want to try. Now, utilities actually has this space to bring it to life.
Just one of the other part of this exhibit, this exhibit is designed to be self-contained in the sense that customers can come in. We have an application that runs on this kind of main screen, and the application really kind of prompts customers to come and explore, play with these different appliances that we saw, press the buttons, and then they can see the amount of energy that particular house is using. And here we are kind of highlighting one of the partner that displays the technology that allows us to know how much energy different appliances in the house we're using. And we have a few other scenarios that we play in this. There is an EV scenario, which we talk about how we can kind of help customers buy an electric vehicle. So again, the purpose of this particular exhibit is to be very immersive and kind of show how end customers can experience Oracle's product. And then utilities can really kind of form that relationship with their consumers and be an energy advisor using some of the smart technology that is installed in this room. Now, utilities have essentially 2 parts. There's a customer-facing part that is what the Smart Studio is allowing us to explore, and then there is this whole back office operation that utilities do, which is what we have created this other exhibit around. So this is our connected hub exhibit. Say hi to Jose here.
Hello, everyone.
So Jose and a few of my colleagues, have really kind of worked on this smart or connected hub exhibit. So here we have kind of miniature models of different assets, and I will have Jose talk us a little bit about how this connected hub works and what some of the use cases are.
Okay. Well, everyone, this is intended to highlight our network management system, which is the Oracle Utilities product to manage the distribution grid. And one of the things that with this product, it has a lot of advanced applications. And what we find, it's really difficult to kind of show that in a demonstration. And so the Smart Studio, and specifically this connected hub, what it allows us to do is to make things a little more physical. So it's a very interactive display, and where what you see here in this miniaturized little city is actually represented in the Oracle Utilities Network Management System. So if you look at the screen here for a second, this is the Oracle Utilities Network Management Advanced Distribution Management System that keeps track of the state of the network. So this is what utilities use to keep the lights on for customers. You can see by the arrows that it tells the operator the flow of electricity. So we want it, as we get more and more advanced, the application becomes a little more abstract, and trying to show what it actually does to a potential customer is more difficult. So with this, we're able to not only model what's here physically, so there's a physical model, but we also have the ability to switch it into a more real-time model. So this is represented both in what's here physically, but also representative of a real utilities network. So one quick scenario we can show here, I'm going to go back to show the model, is that we have some solar panels. So I said we want to make this interactive and show the flow of electricity. You see I have some of these solar panels covered up. Ashish, if you point your camera here, you can see that some of the solar panels feeding into the grid, and see the arrows showing the direction of flow. So if I were to look at this particular solar farm, I can, the operator will be able to see that, it's not generating very much power. But if I remove the obstruction, if I remove the cloud, if you will, and let the solar panel generate power, you can see that it's generating now 240 kilowatts. And as the system solves, you'll see those arrows change direction, indicating that we now have more power than we're consuming, or more power than we upload. And it highlights for the operator that we've had a condition of reverse power into the substation, which is one of the main use cases for managing the grid. Other items we can highlight is the ability of taking data from behind the customer's meter. So here we have a representation of an EV charger. Yeah, if you want to push that along and park it there to indicate it's charging, you'll see that it'll soon begin to charge and turn green, indicating it's charging. And let's see, this guy got timed out here. Nope, there it goes.
So what is this screen showing?
Yeah, thank you. Good question. So that screen is actually Oracle's Internet of Things console. So this is our IoT simulator that's monitoring what that device is doing. So looking beyond the meter in a customer's home, we understand that it's not something the utility is going to have direct access to, and that information is going to go into a cloud of some type. And this is demonstrating how from the network management system that monitors the grid, we can tie into third-party cloud systems and still get that data from behind the customer. So highlighting some of the Oracle technology. With that, there's also, so I'm going to go back to the model here, and I'll highlight, if we look at this data, there's a huge amount of data that's now coming to us in the system. And this is something that I'll highlight in a minute, but what we're looking at here is a trend of real-time streams of data. So we're utilizing some of the Oracle technology like database partitioning option to be able to trend this data and have the operator be able to look back in time without affecting system performance. So just a way for us to highlight not only the application, but some of the underlying technology products that we utilize. And then finally here to show a little more of the interaction that the user can have. Ashish, if you'll show on the screen there.
So yeah, so one of the things that we have done on this model is we have created these, a lot of utilities are underground, right? You'll see we have a full grid kind of model up here. This is kind of using optical fiber and laser to kind of show how power flows to all of these houses. But we're also showing underground utilities using this touch screen. So as I touch the screen, I was kind of simulating digging up the road. And now I will kind of simulate that while digging up the road, I accidentally trip a cable. So,
so
cable is clipped. Here. And now we'll go to see like what's going to happen when you accidentally trip a cable.
So this is a piece of conductor that was tripped. Is we'll see the system here start to evaluate that interaction. So let me make sure. Given that.
So while Jose is looking at that, let me just tell you like what is happening here, right? So we are simulating a trip being happening there, and that particular signal kind of simulates a sensor that will kind of going to IoT cloud and then syncing the state with a digital twin in the IoT cloud in order to activate that. And that particular signal is then feeding it into our network management system where it will kind of continuously kind of evaluating the network and it's going to find a way to kind of resolve that particular outage.
Jim and the group, I want to highlight, how does this relate to construction engineering, right? Then you send the crews on the site. If you need to get it fixed, you know that location, right? You actually can say a crew show up and actually do that work.
Yep.
Right.
Now you kind of see that the outage is kind of highlighted on the network. So
yeah. So yeah, what you're seeing
and then you saw this kind of light in the house go out.
Yeah, the lights the lights of the houses that have been affected by us cutting into that underground cable, those houses have gone out. Same with the big house, the light has gone out. And in the operator's space, they see that the system is doing something all on its own. So some of the automation has started to solve an alternate way to feed those customers, and it was able to re-energize that big house there and isolate the fault automatically. So through the use of sensors on these smart switches, the software is able to isolate the faulted area where that cut happened and open switches around it and restore power through alternate feeds to pick up as many customers as possible without requiring human interaction. So in a matter of under a minute, a full solution will have run and the automation will have restored as many customers as possible, leaving just that final outage where we actually do have to send a crew out to fix that for us. And you can see now the houses, they still remain out in that fiber optic cable there. It's a little hard to see on the camera, but it's been de-energized.
And Jim, this is the time you come in and fix it for us.
Yeah.
Well, this is really interesting too, because I'm sure Exelon, which is Northern Illinois' major public utility, would be fascinated by this. And let me tell you, as somebody that lives in the Midwest, when there's a thunderstorm, almost always there's going to be some sort of power outage. Instead of me texting my next door neighbor, I could simply be going directly to an app that says, yeah, there's an outage. We'll have it restored in a minute and 48 seconds or whatever it might be. That's amazing.
Like in this area, there's a lot of major events, ice storms, wind storms, things like that. There's also the ability to take in all of the customer-owned generation. So not just EV, not just things that go to the cloud, but just if the customer has solar panels, their own generator, to be able to know where that's at and provide the safety to the workers to say these customers that are part of this outage actually have generation behind and they should have been isolated through the grid tie, but it still gives them that added security that they should check all those before.
So Jim,
excellent point.
Jim, Exelon's one of startups actually spin out from Exelon called Exelon ClearSight, which they do
Right.
inspections with. They're actually a partner at the lab.
Yep.
So they work with Oracle utilities. Yes.
And actually,
Outstanding.
one of the footages that we did was the Exelon ClearSight brought their drones, and in the dry space area that we were showing earlier, we had
That
the
was
drone
them.
kind of fly around.
That's cool. That is really
Yeah.
awesome.
A couple of quick comments I wanted to make here is we have a whole bunch of use cases that we use this model for. Jose showed some of our distributed energy, which is with EVs and solar. He also showed an outage use case. There is also some consumer use cases that we show. And Jim, as you were talking about earlier, we show how communication, 360-degree communication is happening. So as the outage happens, customers get email, they get notifications. We also have a digital assistant here. So this is Google. Hey, Google, what's the weather today? So, we are kind of showing some interaction here with Google Assistant. And so how utilities can use some of the new technologies to inform their customers, say about outages, about their bills, about actions they can take to reduce their bills. So the whole bunch of use cases around consumers here. Jose, can you just show us some behind the scenes? How did we implement all of this? This is all real working model, right? This is not just like a dollhouse, right? So this is actually integrated with our applications. Can you show some behind the scenes?
Open the drawer. All right. So, yeah, we're really showing you the underbelly here. So we're using a lot of different sensors we're using a lot of Raspberry Pis to do some of the, the LED lighting and things like that. But we are using the actual protocols used within the utility space. So we have a product that's our Live Energy Connect. That's essentially a gateway for all the different protocols that utilities use or have to be in compliance with. Things like DNP3, ICCP, these protocols that utilities use, we're using those here. So even though it looks like a toy model, underneath we have some real RTU software running that talks to these protocols. So we're communicating, and as in a later phase, we will be talking to the actual Tesla wall here. So this building will become, and you can see the model has this building, but we'll be monitoring the building with our software that is with the power wall you saw behind the other section of the smart street.
So let's close this section out. I see a drone here. Can you talk about the drone?
Sure.
What does it do?
So the drone is something when we have major events, utilities will deploy drones to do automated damage assessment. And what we've done is created an interface that utilities can use to submit all the information that the drone captures and generate damage assessment reports, which will show, as some of these drones have, infrared cameras and very smart cameras that will actually detect that a wire is down, or use the heat sensing to say it's overloaded, and create an event at a GPS location that we can then feed to the system and create, work management or work orders or conditions that let the operator know there's trouble out in the lines. So more and more information to feed.
Awesome. So that is it from the utility side. We're excited to have the space where we can show off some of the innovations that not only we are doing within utilities, but we are working closely with our partners and our customers. So back to you, Jim.
That's some pretty amazing stuff. That is just utterly amazing what you folks are doing. Very familiar with the Raspberry Pi concepts of doing all this stuff. I think I was doing a presentation for COUG a couple of days ago when we were actually, right, Alfredo, we were talking about smart meters and other things like that, input, output, and stuff like that. So this is something very close and dear to my heart, especially with the new idea of rebuilding the US's electrical infrastructure and building it out for, where we're headed in the next, 10 or 20 years.
That's a major thing, Jim, as you said, right? Sustainable infrastructure, building it, rebuilding it, and everything is happening in that space.
Right. So gee, you know, I'm looking at the space down here, and you know, you could almost run a small race with an electrical vehicle down in there somewhere, couldn't you? You know, maybe something with a Red Bull logo on the side of it or something like that. I don't know. That would be kind of cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we are doing one of the programs we are doing with Red Bull Racing. It's a Lego race car. It's a prototype, but it's going to be something smaller. We already have the prototype in place. We want to be like 6 to 8 cars. But in our physical events, when we get back, I guess next year, we will be able to showcase that you can train using the telemetry of the pilot. You train with your machine learning. You put it in the car. You race the same thing. They show there the Tesla chargers and some things. We were talking with Tesla to introduce, we did a Java game connected to the autonomous database, and we want to make it run on Tesla. The first autonomous game running the first autonomous car.
Yes.
I think we can do more in-car experience. That's another area we want to explore. And I want to introduce these kind of things into Burchin's site. So we probably, if things go well, as we expect, we hope that we can start building more demos for more verticals in this site.